The NFL filed a motion for an emergency stay with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit on Friday in the Ezekiel Elliott case that, if granted, would potentially allow the league to enforce its suspension of the Dallas Cowboys running back in the weeks ahead. The league is asking the Fifth Circuit for a stay on a preliminary injunction and a temporary restraining order issued last week by U.S. Court Judge Amos Mazant III that likely has put Elliott's suspension on hold for the remainder of the season. Although there is no firm timeline for a decision, the Fifth Circuit could make a ruling in a matter of days, perhaps even soon enough to bar Elliott from playing in Week 3 if it sides with the NFL in its motion. The NFL asks for ruling from the court by no later than September 26, the Tuesday of Week 4. The league believes Mazant defied precedent in his decision to grant the NFL Players Association and Elliott an injunction after finding Elliott didn't receive a fair appeal in front of league-appointed arbitrator Harold Henderson. The court not only entertained a blatantly prematurely challenge, but then found a likelihood of success in a procedural challenge to the arbitrator's decision. The NFL's motion states that precedent-defying decision will not stand, and nothing in the state equities favors delaying an arbitrator's decision that will almost certainly be vindicated at the end of the proceedings. The misguided order should be stayed and then promptly reversed. It'll be difficult for the league to obtain an emergency stay from the Fifth Circuit, according to Gabe Feldman, director of the Tulane Sports Law Program. The NFL will have to convince the Fifth Circuit that it has a likelihood of success on the merits and that it will suffer irreparable harm if the stay is not granted, Feldman said. It may be difficult for the league to convince the court that it will suffer irreparable harm given that Elliott could serve his suspension later in the season or next season once a full appeal on the merits has been decided. If the court does grant the stay, however, it is an extremely strong indicator that it will ultimately rule in the NFL's favor and overturn the injunction. Mazant is reviewing the league's request for an emergency stay of the injunction he issued last week as he continues to examine the merits of the NFL Players Association's petition to have Elliott's 6-game suspension dissolved. The stay requests are part of an attempt by the NFL to enforce the suspension during this season and confirm NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell's authority to issue punishment based on conduct detrimental to the league as mandated in Article 46 of the Collective Bargaining Agreement. In his decision last week to grant a preliminary injunction and temporary restraining order, Mazant agreed with the NFLPA that Elliott didn't receive a fair suspension appeal hearing. The question before the court is merely whether Elliott received a fundamentally fair hearing before the arbitrator, Mazant wrote. The answer is he did not. The court finds, based upon the injunction standard, that Elliott was denied a fundamentally fair hearing by Henderson's refusal to allow former girlfriend Tiffany Thompson and Goodell to testify at the arbitration hearing. Their absence effectively deprived Elliott of any chance to have a fundamentally fair hearing. The NFL argues Mazant's ruling interferes with a legally binding labor deal that has been approved by the league and the union. It's the same argument the NFL deployed in ultimately successful appeals against Tom Brady during Deflategate and Adrian Peterson after he pleaded no contest to misdemeanor reckless assault. Petitioner should not be allowed to evade its CBA obligations by delaying suspensions indefinitely through the courts, NFL attorneys wrote in a filing Wednesday in support of an injunction stay. This is part of the ongoing fight between the Players Association and the league over the power of the commissioner, Feldman said. We have seen the NFL go to great lengths in court to affirm and strengthen and maintain they believe in what they collectively bargained for. And we've seen the Players Association fight and say that the commissioner has overreached and they want to protect the rights of the players. The NFL doesn't want precedent out there that says a court can interfere with the commissioner's decision or with an arbitrator's decision. Goodell suspended Elliott 6 games after a year-long investigation into domestic violence accusations made by Thompson. The league found he violated the league's conduct policy, which mandates a 6-game suspension for first-time domestic violence violations. Elliott, 22, was never charged and has denied wrongdoing. The NFLPA is challenging the process the NFL undertook to suspend Elliott, not the factual conclusions from its investigation, Feldman said. Among other things, the petition